All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are going to decode the absolutely fascinating spectrum of market structures. And trust me, this stuff dictates everything in your daily life, from the price you pay for your morning toothpaste all the way to your monthly electricity bill. Whether you realize it or not, every single time you buy something, you are participating in a highly structured economic arena. So today, we're going to break down exactly how those arenas are built. To really wrap our heads around this, we need to look at it as a continuum. We're going to start way over on one side with perfect competition, where sellers have absolutely zero price control. And then we'll travel all the way to the other end, landing on the unchecked total power of a pure monopoly. We've organized this into 6 core sections for you. Introduction to market structures, perfect competition explained, the monopoly extreme, monopolistic competition mechanics, the oligopoly battleground, and finally, summarizing market dynamics. Okay, Section 1, Introduction to Market Structures. Let's start by defining the actual arena where this economic tug-of-war takes place. When I say the word market, you probably picture a bustling, crowded physical bazaar, right? Well, in economics, a market isn't just a physical place anymore. It's actually an arrangement. It's literally any system, regardless of geography, that allows a deal to be struck. So if buyers and sellers can come into contact, whether directly or indirectly, and they agree on a price and a quantity, boom, you have a market. Section 2, Perfect Competition Explained. Let's see how this definition builds out our first extreme on the spectrum, where the seller has literally zero power. Welcome to the ultimate price taker hub, which is perfect competition. Imagine a market where absolutely everything is identical. Everyone has the exact same cost data, and they are selling completely homogeneous, identical products. Because there's zero variation, sellers are forced to just accept a single, uniform market price. Not a single individual seller has the power to budge that number even a cent. The mechanics behind this are actually pretty fascinating. You have a massive number of buyers and sellers, which means individual firms are producing just a tiny fraction of the total goods. Think of vast agricultural markets, like wheat or rice. And because anyone can freely enter or exit the market without any restrictions, these firms are absolute price takers. In the long run, this free entry ensures they only earn normal profits. Because think about it, if abnormal profits suddenly appear, new competitors are going to rush right in, increase the supply, and drive the price right back down. Now, here's a really interesting distinction between 2 terms that get confused all the time. Pure competition was actually championed by American economists as a more realistic model. That one just requires a large number of buyers and sellers, homogeneous products, and free entry. But on the flip side, perfect competition, which was championed by British economists, is more of an ideal, mythical market. It demands complete perfection, meaning zero transport costs, perfect mobility of resources, and perfect knowledge across the board. It basically serves as our theoretical baseline for everything else we're about to look at. So, what does this all mean for the math? Well, in this perfectly competitive environment, a firm never, ever needs to cut its price to sell more units. That means its demand curve is a perfectly elastic, horizontal line just running right parallel to the x-axis. So price directly equals both average revenue and marginal revenue. Every single additional unit sold adds the exact same flat amount to the firm's revenue. Section 3, the monopoly extreme. Let's jump completely to the opposite end of our spectrum, leaving the world of the price taker behind to meet the absolute sovereign of the market. Think of a pure monopoly like a massive, impenetrable fortress. Real-world examples would be the Indian Railways or state electricity boards. In this structure, the firm and the entire industry are the exact same thing. There is only one seller, and they are sitting right at the control panel, dictating everything. So how do they maintain this fortress? Well, they are locked securely behind massive barriers to entry. We're talking things like patents, copyrights, exclusive government laws, or just colossal economies of scale. Because there are no close substitutes and entry is completely closed off to competitors, this single seller becomes a true price maker. And unlike our perfectly competitive friends, this allows the monopoly to sustain supernormal, abnormal profits over the long run. And because monopolies hold all the cards, they unlock a pretty unique superpower: price discrimination. They can literally charge different prices to different buyers for the exact same product, completely unrelated to the cost of actually supplying it. They might charge a hospital's rich patients more than the poor patients, or give agricultural users cheaper electricity rates than residential homes. They get to dictate the terms entirely based on who is buying. Section 4, Monopolistic Competition Mechanics.
Next up, we explore the super vibrant middle ground where perfect competition and monopoly mechanics blend together. These are the markets you probably interact with the most. If you imagine walking down a bustling street full of bright neon signs and highly customized storefronts, you have entered monopolistic competition. This is the ultimate battle of the brands. There are tons of sellers here, but instead of identical, boring wheat, they are fiercely fighting for your loyalty through differentiated products. The real game changer here is selling costs. Unlike perfect competition, firms in monopolistic competition spend massive amounts of money on sales promotion. We're talking TV commercials for Colgate toothpaste or billboards for Lux soap. They are desperately trying to convince you that their product, while it is a close substitute to the one right next to it on the shelf, is uniquely better in quality, design, or brand reputation. And it's exactly this differentiation that gives each firm its own slight, independent price-making power. Section 5. The Oligopoly Battleground. Moving even further down the spectrum, just before we hit total monopoly, we find a high-stakes arena dominated by just a few absolute giants. An oligopoly is intensely gladiatorial. Just a few massive corporations, think automobile manufacturers like Maruti, or soft drink titans like Coke and Pepsi, dominate the entire space. They act like giant watchtowers constantly, and I mean constantly, watching their rivals' every single move. They're slightly paranoid and always ready to strike. Because there are only a few dominant sellers, absolute interdependence is the golden rule. They are hyper-aware of each other. If one car company suddenly offers free insurance, the others have to react immediately or risk losing everything. This intense interdependence leads to massive selling costs and brutal non-price competition. In an oligopoly, advertising truly becomes a matter of literal life and death to maintain your market share against ruthless rivals. So the crucial takeaway here is that this intense fear of retaliation creates something totally unique, an indeterminate kinked demand curve. It basically locks prices in place, causing this phenomenon called price rigidity. Why? Well, if you lower your price, all your rivals immediately match it to keep their customers, meaning you barely gain any new revenue. But if you raise your price, your rivals just ignore you, keeping their prices low, and you end up losing massive amounts of customers. Therefore, in an oligopoly, prices tend to stay stubbornly stuck right at that kink. Section 6. Summarizing market dynamics. Finally, let's tie all these frameworks together. And we're going to take a quick look at one more concept that totally flips the script on market power. Okay, so we know a monopoly is a single seller, but imagine slipping the whole board over to a monopsony, which is a single buyer. Picture the government's Department of Defense purchasing highly specialized military equipment. You have numerous private firms competing fiercely to sell to them, but there is only one buyer sitting at the desk. In a monopsony, the buyer completely dictates the terms of the deal, the price, and the quantity. It is the absolute ultimate buyer's market. To synthesize our entire journey across these structures, it really comes down to one fundamental rule. Any firm with market power, whether that's a monopolistic toothpaste brand with just a little bit of power to a true monopoly with absolute power, they all must lower their price if they want to sell more units. This always drives their marginal revenue below their average revenue, creating a downward sloping curve. This is the exact opposite of that perfectly flat line we saw in perfect competition where sellers had absolutely zero power. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, all the way from the perfect knowledge of a highly competitive grid straight to the locked gates of a monopoly. As you navigate the economic world around you, whether you're just buying groceries or paying your utilities, I want you to really ask yourself a question. Are we, as a society, better off with the ruthless price efficiency of perfect competition, the highly diverse, ad-driven choices of monopolistic brands, or the massive scale and infrastructure of a pure monopoly? Keep that in mind the next time you make a purchase. Thanks so much for exploring the market spectrum with me today.